I'm here with Dr. Edward Shree, author of a new book, Who Am I to Judge by Ignatius Press and the Augustine Institute. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be here with you again.
So I heard you talk this morning. It was great. And the thoughts that came to mind were that this is sort of a new apologetics for a modern day relativism. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've all had those situations, right, where you're with a family member or a friend at work and some moral topic comes up, and if they know your convictions, they're going to say things like, hey, well, who are you to judge? Why are you being so intolerant? Don't be judgmental. We should just all get along, right? How do we talk about morality in a world that doesn't believe in moral truth? And if you dare to stand up and say, like, I do think there is truth, I do think there are things that are right or wrong, you'll get a slap on the hand, and you'll be labeled a bigot. It's hard to talk about morality today, and so what we wanted to do is develop a book and this video program as well that would help people be equipped to talk confidently and intelligently about moral issues, but to be able to do it in a compassionate way and a way that's going to be winsome and drawing people to the truth.
I loved your story of the person who spoke their truth but added that, well, for me, so that people weren't judging or you weren't accused of hate speech. So what are some key tips that people can use to speak that truth in love? Granted, those are in the book, but what would you consider some helpful tips for that?
Well, first and foremost, let's just talk about that one point. I think it's important that we ourselves are formed well. And a lot of people, especially the younger generation, will say things like that. They'll say, I think abortion is wrong for me, or marriage is between a man and woman for me. And when they do that little move for me, what they're doing is denying that there's any real truth outside of themselves, that there's a moral structure to the universe. It becomes just about my own personal tastes and values, like what's my favorite flavor of ice cream, what's my favorite sports team, what kind of music I like. And that's dangerous. And when we deny that there's real truth outside of me, truth isn't just an abstract concept, it's a person, it's Jesus Christ. And that's a dangerous thing. So we have to make sure we're okay on this and to see that, no, there is a moral truth that guides me. There's a moral compass outside of me that guides me. Because if I don't believe that, if I keep saying for me, then when I have to make moral decisions for my own self, I'm going to make compromises. I'm going to make mistakes because I'll say, well, it doesn't matter if I like chocolate or vanilla. It doesn't matter if I like country or rock and roll or classical. I can change my taste, and so I can change my moral lifestyle. And that's what's killing young people today. Young people are being swept away by relativism because they make that first little move in their head. Well, I'll just say for me morality. And then when they're faced with temptations with alcohol or sex or whatever, then they start going, well, I guess I can change because there is no truth. It's just my own personal taste. And then the culture sweeps them away. So that's the first thing, I think, is internally we have to believe that there is real truth. Another thing that we talked about this morning, I think, is to have it really clear in our minds that, to actually say that something's right or wrong doesn't make you a bigot. I made the joke that, many of our secular friends, they're really good at quoting one Bible verse, right? They know one Bible verse. Jesus said, don't judge, and they quote that to us. And that's true, though. Jesus did say, don't judge. But we have to know that elsewhere in the Bible says that we should judge. St. Paul says the spiritual man judges all things. So what does this mean? Sometimes we're supposed to judge, sometimes we're not. We have to understand the context of what we're judging. Jesus is saying, don't ever play the role of being a judge in the sense of being like God condemning a soul. Someone's spiritual status before God, whether they go to heaven or hell, that's between them and God alone. We should never get in that business, right? But we should make judgments all the time. Like today was pouring outside and I made a judgment, I'm going to get an umbrella. That doesn't make me a bigot if I made a judgment, or if I see my little toddler getting ready to run into a busy street. I use my mind to make a judgment. She shouldn't do that. She's going to get hurt. And even, I would say if somebody's living an immoral lifestyle, someone's thinking about having abortion or someone is sleeping around with one person after another, I can use my mind and make a judgment. That's not good for them. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to find the love they're looking for. I'm not getting the business of condemning them and saying, well, you're going to go to hell. I mean, that's between them and God. I don't know their whole story, their intention, their whole background. But to make the judgment, this isn't good for them, we can do that. We should do that. And that's what's sad, that our relativistic culture is keeping us from doing that. And here's why. It's so sad. Because we're called to love people. And you want to be a loving person, don't you? I'm sure all your viewers out there want to be a loving person. But what's sad is that our culture prevents us from loving people. Because the relativistic world gets to say, hey, don't ever love people. Bonnie, don't ever tell people what's right or wrong, because you're judging them. Well, no. I mean, again, if I see my daughter running in the street, would it be loving for me to say, well, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I hope if it works for you. No, that's not love. And relativism gets us to be indifferent, that we see family members and friends that are doing things that really, they're not living according to God's plan. And when we don't live according to God's plan, we're not going to be fully happy. We're going to hurt ourselves and hurt others.
I want to certainly talk too about the series here. So tell us how people work with this series at a parish setting, personal setting. How does that go?
Yeah, so at the Augustine Institute, we developed a video series in addition to the book, and it's an 8-part video series of short little videos that come together for men's groups, women's groups, families are using it. And the idea is, so many parishes admit, parish leaders, pastors, and catechists, we're not doing much to form people morally. We've got a sacramental prayer program, we've got an RSA program, we do Bible study in our parish, but we're not forming them in the critical issues of our day. And they've told me, because there's nothing out there, what do we do? That's what this program's about. So we're hoping that many parishes will adopt this, and men's and women's groups around the country I know are already using it to really give us that confidence and clarity how to talk about morality in a relativistic culture. So they can find out about that at AugustineInstitute.org/encounter. AugustineInstitute.org/encounter is where they can learn more about that program.
Great. Thanks so much for your time. I know you need to get to your own family and spend some quality time. That'll be great. So thanks for your time being with us here at the Catholic Marketing Network Trade Show. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All you do.
Back to rest of This Is the Day.